this crazy world, it's so hard to unwind. So I'm taking time just for me. Gonna find my peace, let my soul be free. In the quiet moments, that's where I'll find a little room to breathe, leave it all behind. Give me room to breathe, I need some time to heal my heart, to clear my mind. Gonna love myself, yeah, I believe in the power of me. Just give me room to breathe.
Great new day to all my self-care and family friends. I want to welcome you all back to another Room to Breathe podcast. I'm your host, Life Coach 614, and I am so happy that you've made space to be here with us today. Now, before we jump into today's conversation, I need for you all to do me a quick favor. If you're feeling the vibe, go ahead and show us some love. Tap the screen, like, comment, but most importantly, I need for everyone to share this out with someone who could use a little healing energy. And for those of you who this is your first time here, or maybe you just haven't done so already, please hit that follow button, subscribe to our channel, so that way you're always tapped in when a new episode drops. I also want to invite you to visit our selfcareclub.org website, where you will find everything you need from affirmative apparel to motivational merch, as well as a ton of free resources to help nourish your growth and remind you that you are supported every step of the way. Just know that you don't have to do this alone. We are healing in community, growing one breath, one moment, one day at a time. So today, I encourage you to give yourself permission to pause, to make space for peace, for growth, but most importantly, just making room for you. And remember, if anything in today's episode hits home, be sure to drop those green hearts in the chat. That is our community's way of saying I am healing, I am growing, and I am showing up for me. Now, let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. Family, today is Wednesday, as you all know. And on Wednesday, we like to deliver a word of the week. And I try to get really creative in the words that I set up for us as a means of giving us the opportunity to name some of the things that we've been experiencing and just, really didn't have the words for. So today I think that I've selected another word that will do just that. And I'm hoping that this conversation just really lands with the right people in this moment. So today's word, or let me start by this. Today's conversation is about something that a lot of us had to learn the hard way. Protecting our peace. Spark Motive, welcome in, bro. Butterfly, welcome in. Did I say that already? If not, hey girl, hey. But yeah, so I think a lot of us have had to learn how to protect our peace the hard way, right? Not the cute Instagram version, not, the light a candle and pretend everything is fine version of peace. But I'm talking about like that real kind of peace. You know what I mean? Like the kind you learn after you've been emotionally exhausted. The kind you learn after giving people chance after chance. The kind you learn after realizing that some of the stress in your life didn't come from responsibilities. It came from relationships or conversations and situations you kept allowing access to your nervous system. And if we're honest, a lot of us had to learn that lesson the long way around, right? So today's Wednesday word that I have for you is apatheia. Let me go ahead and add that to the chat for you. Can somebody pin that for me? The word for today, or the word for the week, is apatheia. 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 All right. Again, pronounced apatheia. And before we go any further, I want to clear something up really quick, because the word sounds a lot like another word that I feel like people throw around all the time, which is apathy, right? And I know that the two words sound similar, but they mean something completely different. So apathy, apathy, apathy means you stop caring, right? You're numb, you're disconnected, emotionally checked out, and you just don't care anymore, right? You stop investing in people, you stop feeling deeply, you stop trying. That's apathy. All right. So maybe y'all getting a double word today. Apathy means you stop caring, but that's not what we're talking about today. Apatheia is, like I said, something completely different. Apatheia means you still care. You just refuse to let other people's behavior control your peace. You still have compassion, right? You still have love. You still have empathy. You still want good things for people, but you don't anymore, you're not in the habit of allowing people's, attitude and drama and mood swings and their emotional storms hijack your nervous system anymore. So with apatheia, you're not cold, you're regulated. You're not detached, you're disciplined with grace. And if we're being honest, most of us didn't grow up learning apatheia, right? Nobody pulled us aside and said, hey, it's not your job to manage everybody else's emotions. Elevated Awakening, Z, welcome in, beautiful. Right? I mean, I know I did, and nobody pulled me to the side and told me that. What I grew up learning was something completely different. I grew up learning over responsibility. If someone was upset, it's my job to fix it. If somebody misunderstands us, we feel like we have to explain it. If somebody had a bad day, we feel like we have to absorb it. If somebody got an attitude, we feel like we got to go figure out what we did wrong. Welcome in, Monique. And, before you know it, you're walking around carrying emotional weight that never belonged to you in the first place. We show up and we be out here managing moods, managing misunderstandings, managing other people's insecurities. And the wild part is nobody ever assigned us this job, right? This is just a role that we slowly stepped into because we care, because we're empathetic. Welcome in, Tania, right? It's because you want peace. But healing eventually teaches you that, I think it's something that a lot of us learn through burnout and heartbreak and emotional exhaustion, right? And so healing teaches us that everybody's emotions are not your job description. And I'm going to say that again for the people who are hiding outside the club, right? Everybody's emotions are not your job description. You are not responsible for regulating grown adults who refuse to regulate themselves. You are not responsible for explaining your intentions to people committed to misunderstanding you. And you are definitely not responsible for sacrificing your peace just to keep chaos comfortable. Because once you start practicing apatheia, something interesting happens. Your awareness sharpens. You start noticing people and habits and, patterns that constantly disrupt your peace. The conversations that leave you feeling drained. The dynamics that always turn tense. The environments that make your nervous system tighten up the moment that you walk in a room. And, that's when you start recognizing something that I like to call the D.O.P.s. Y'all know them disruptors of peace. Now listen, every single person listening to this right now has encountered a D.O.P. And if you try to argue it down, I'm just going to tell you probably the D.O.P. Right? And when we think of the D.O.P.s, right, those disruptors of peace, sometimes it's a person. Sometimes it's a situation. Sometimes it's a pattern that you haven't healed from yet. And sometimes, if we're being really honest, the D.O.P. is the version of us that keeps answering the phone when chaos calls, right? But the moment that you begin practicing apatheia, you start recognizing those disruptors faster. And more importantly, you stop volunteering your peace for that chaos. You start recognizing things. You stop volunteering for things, right? You quit volunteering your peace for the chaos. So again, today we're going to talk about recognizing the things that constantly disrupt your peace and learning how to disengage without guilt. So let's get into it. I think I want to begin by talking about when you're the emotional manager for everyone else. Again, some of us were raised to believe that peace meant keeping everybody else comfortable, not actually peace, right? Just no one being upset. So without even realizing it, we have become the peacemaker, right? There's a bunch of Olivia Pope fixers running around. Monique said, yep, that's me. It's me. I'm right here. Don't worry, Monique. I'm right here with you, right? I'll be the mediator, the emotional translator, right? The one explaining what somebody really meant when they said something shady. She ain't mean it like that. What she was trying to say was, right? Or maybe you're the one who's smoothing over tension for family gatherings, trying to explain that's just how she is. She don't mean nothing by it. Yes, she do. She meant what she said. Maybe you're the one calming down arguments that you didn't start. Everybody calm down. Let's take a moment. We're family. We shouldn't do that, right? Or maybe you're the one trying to help everybody see both sides of the situation. Like your mama named you devil's advocate. You're like, no, but okay, look at it from her perspective. Okay, listen to what he's saying, right? The middleman. Exactly, Monique. Cheyenne, welcome in, beautiful. And so at some point, you didn't just become the peacemaker. You slid into this role of the emotional manager for everyone in the room. You're out here explaining other people's behavior like you're a customer service representative for grown people. Oh, they didn't mean it like that. They're just having a bad day. You know how they are. Meanwhile, your nervous system is standing in the corner looking at you like, ma'am, we are tired, sir. Because what nobody told us growing up is that constantly managing other people's emotions is exhausting. Right, Brooks? It is exhausting as hell. It's like being on call for chaos. Your phone buzzes, your stomach drops, your mind immediately starts trying to figure out what happened, what I do, how do I fix it, right? But like, the truth is, a lot of us were never supposed to be carrying all of this emotional responsibility in the first place. We just got really good at it, right? We got really good at reading moods. We got good at anticipating the tension. Shamika, welcome in. We got really good at adjusting ourselves so situations wouldn't explode in our face. And sometimes, if we're being honest, that skill came from survival, right? Sometimes it came from growing up in environments where tension meant something bad was about to happen. So you learned early, if I keep everybody calm, then things stay safe. But here's the problem. When that habit follows you into adulthood, you start carrying emotional weight that doesn't belong to you. So, if someone else is upset, you feel responsible. You internalize it like it's you. If somebody misunderstands you, you feel like you need to explain yourself to them for the next 2 hours. Somebody's in a bad mood, all of a sudden now that's your energy too. And suddenly your peace becomes dependent on everybody else's emotional stability. Which means if they're chaotic, you're chaotic. If they're upset, you're anxious. If they're dramatic, your nervous system is activated. And that's when life starts to feel so exhausting, because you're not just living your life, you're emotionally managing everybody else's life too. And that's where apatheia begins to shift things, right? Apatheia is the moment that you realize, that something might feel uncomfortable the first time you say it out loud, but it's still worth saying it out loud, right? Everybody's emotions are not your job description. And I'm going to say that so many times. Everybody's emotions are not your job description. Yes, butterfly, matching energy is depleting, especially when you are surrounded by people whose energy is beneath you, right? Like you're vibrating high and then somebody comes in with their negativity. And if you match energy, then you done dropped yourself down. You done undid all the hard work that you've been doing. And so the thing I think that we need to remember is that you can care about people, you can support people, you can love people, but you are not responsible for regulating the emotional lives of grown adults. Sorry, y'all, that light was getting on my nerves behind me. But again, you're not responsible for regulating the emotional lives of grown people. And once that realization clicks, you start stepping down from the roles that you never applied for, right? You stop being the emotional manager. You stop being the tension absorber. You stop being the peacekeeper for situations that were never yours to manage. Because, I mean, think about it. Many of y'all out here running around doing this job and you ain't never been paid for it, right? So once you start to realize that, you know, instead of running around trying to chase after everybody else and make sure everybody else is good, you start protecting your own peace first. Because real peace doesn't come from managing everybody else's. It comes from finally realizing that you don't have to carry what isn't yours. And let's just go ahead and talk about these D.O.P.s, right? D.O.P., Disruptor of Peace. And like I said, everybody who's listening to this has encountered a D.O.P. And I want to clearly, you know, define what this is, because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it, right? So a D.O.P. is a person, a situation, or a pattern that consistently disrupts your emotional stability. I'm going to add that on the screen over here. Give me 1 second. A D.O.P. is a person, situation, or pattern that consistently disrupts your emotional stability. Give me a sec, TikTok. I'll put it on the screen for y'all too. Hold on, y'all. Y'all know we be managing multiple screens at one time. And so again, this is why I said that everybody has experienced a D.O.P. a time or two. And if you say you haven't, then the D.O.P. is you. Sorry, not sorry. So again, the key word in this is consistently, not occasionally, not once in a while, but consistently. Thank you, Farah. She said, don't matter, you gets it done. Period. We might be a little late, you know? Might be a little delay, but we gets it done. So again, thinking of the D.O.P.s, you know, every interaction with them feels like walking into emotional turbulence. And y'all know the type, you know, where every conversation is just negative, where every situation somehow turns into drama, where every disagreement becomes a full out production. Everything is an emergency. Everything is somebody's fault. Everything requires your emotional attention right now. And the crazy part is, when the interaction is over, you're the one emotionally exhausted. Right? You ever get off the phone with somebody and your head hurts? You was doing good, but now your energy is low, your mood is off, your nervous system feels like it just ran a damn marathon. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Elevated awakenings. Now my sister and my brother come skipping in the room, holding hands together. What's up, brother? Hey, sister. Hey, girl. Hey. And so listen, y'all, after y'all get off the phone with a D.O.P., you sitting there wondering, why do I feel drained after talking to this person every single time? I see them green hearts every single time. And you know, when you think about it, some people don't just have problems, they circulate problems, right? They distribute tension like it's a group project. And if you're someone who is empathetic and supportive and emotionally aware, guess what happens? You become their favorite drop-off location, right? But here's where I'm going to lovingly, say something to us. Sometimes the D.O.P. isn't just the person. Sometimes the D.O.P. is the fact that we keep answering the phone. Thank you, brother. Right? Sometimes we are the D.O.P., y'all. I honestly had to sit with that. Thank you for the heart, me. No fear, no doubt. Welcome in, bro. I honestly had to learn that the hard way, you guys. I had to really have my own mirror moment and recognize that for a while, I was the D.O.P. in my own life. Ouch, right? Because I was the one who was consistently, keyword, consistently disrupting my own peace. And I was disrupting my own peace by showing up into the situations that I knew I didn't want to be a part of. I kept going to the family functions, right? I kept answering the phone. Knowing good and well, I already changed that person's name in my phone to Bugaboo, but still I'm saying, hey, how you doing? Why do you care? Right? So sometimes the D.O.P. is just simply the fact that we keep entertaining the drama. We keep responding to the messages. We keep stepping into the arguments. We keep trying to fix situations that nobody asked us to fix. And sometimes, if we're really honest, we already know exactly how that conversation is going to go. You see that name pop up on your phone, right? Bugaboo calling. And your stomach already drops. You already know this is about to be some bullshit. You already know they about to call you with all the mess. But what do? We answer the phone anyway. Right? We answer the phone anyway. And for the next 30 to 45 minutes, we sitting here listening to them, and we're sitting here now emotionally depleted, wondering why we keep ending up in the same dynamic. But healing starts when you begin to ask yourself a different question, right? Instead of asking, why are they like this? You got to start asking yourself, why do I keep giving this person access to my peace? Because the truth is, some people thrive on chaos. Some people are comfortable in dysfunction. Some people are addicted to emotional intensity. But that doesn't mean that you have to participate. For years, we've learned that misery loves company. Who said you had to be company? Right? Like, my name is Shantae, not company. And so, it doesn't mean that you have to engage. It doesn't mean that you have to participate in it. And so Apatheia teaches you, that just something different, like another way of thinking about it. You can, with Apatheia, you start to recognize the D.O.P., even if it's you, because we know we don't point fingers without three of them pointing back. It's like you can recognize the D.O.P. without volunteering to absorb the disruption. Like, oh, I see you, but I'm not about to entertain you. Right? Speaking of D.O.P.s, Jordan, that's a whole D.O.P. right there. We're going to talk. But again, just because chaos knocks on your door, it doesn't mean you have to open it. I mean, we got Ring doorbells these days, y'all. Okay? Not Wasted Wellness said, I done dropped my phone trying to pass the offering plate. Listen, I mean, seriously though, if you think about it, just because a person knocks at your door, it doesn't mean you have to answer. Y'all don't be answering the door for them Jehovah's Witnesses. Y'all don't be answering the door for the cable guy. Some of y'all don't even be answering the door for Renter Center, so quit playing with me. I'm just saying. So, once you start practicing that level of emotional discernment, you'll be amazed at how quickly your peace starts to return. Because sometimes protecting your peace isn't about changing the other person. It's about changing your level of access. Tania said, be hiding in the laundry room looking out the window at them. Listen, I'm just saying, not everybody or everyone or even every opinion requires your emotional investment. Y'all be out here making deposits unnecessarily. And the moment you deposit it, somebody else done withdrawed it, never to see it again. It's worse than the lottery. Okay? So let's normalize something right now. People are always going to have something to say, right? People will have opinions about you. You are so welcome, sis. And, when I say people are going to always have opinions about you, when it comes to this healing thing, they're going to have opinions about your boundaries. They're going to have opinions about your growth. They'll have opinions about your healing, about the way you communicate, about the way you protect your time, right? They're going to have opinions about the way you choose peace instead of participating in chaos. And yep, sometimes those opinions are loud as hell. Sometimes they come wrapped in judgment. I know that's right, Brooks. Sometimes they're disguised as concern, right? But if we're being honest, a lot of us have been conditioned to believe, something that keeps us emotionally exhausted. We've been conditioned to believe that we need to explain ourselves to everybody. So what do? We run around explaining our boundaries. You explain why you said no. You explain why you stepped back. You explain why you are moving differently now. You explain why you're not tolerating the same behaviors anymore. And before you know it, you're out here giving full PowerPoint presentations to people who were never trying to understand you in the first place. They don't care. They just want access again. So listen, you can spend your whole life trying to clarify your intentions to people who have already decided who you are. They don't care who you say you are, right? Because they've already made up their mind. Some people don't misunderstand you by accident. They misunderstand you on purpose, because misunderstanding you allows them to stay comfortable with the version of you that they prefer. The version of you that is overextended. The version of you that tolerates things. The version of you that stays quiet. The one that makes their life easier. But the moment that you start protecting your peace, the moment that you start setting boundaries, and the moment that you stop participating in the unnecessary chaos, suddenly everybody got an opinion, right? And healing teaches us that not every opinion deserves your emotional investment. Just because somebody has something to say about you doesn't mean that they deserve your energy. You don't have to attend every misunderstanding. You don't have to correct every narrative. You don't have to explain your healing journey to people who are committed to misunderstanding it, because Apatheia teaches you a different way of moving through life. So understand that not every opinion deserves your emotional investment. Period. Okay, like that is a mic drop for you. Faith, welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. We got a new sister in the house, y'all. Hey girl, hey. So again, not every opinion deserves your emotional investment. And again, when I say that Apatheia teaches you a different way of moving through life, it's a quieter way, right? A more grounded way. You stop trying to control how people perceive you. You instead of worrying about like how other people view you, you start to focus on how you live your life. And I think that here's the truth that sets a lot of people free. Hold on, y'all. We got to do a puzzle over here. Okay. You know, the truth that sets you free is that you don't need unanimous approval to live in peace. Everybody's not going to agree with your boundaries. Everybody's not going to understand your healing. Everybody's, not going to celebrate the version of you that refuses to tolerate chaos. And that's okay. Because peace was never something that was designed to be a committee decision, right? Peace is something that you claim. Peace is something that you protect. Peace is something that you choose every single day, right? And when I say it's something that you choose, I'm talking about even when people misunderstand you. And see, once that realization settles in your spirit, you stop chasing approval and you start protecting your energy instead. And then, there's this conversation that always comes up in your healing journey where people try to say you've changed, right? We talk about this all the time. Once you start practicing apatheia, people notice, people see you. And it's not because you announced anything. There's no billboard flashing behind you. There wasn't a, breaking news. It's not because you made a big speech about your boundaries or anything else like that. It's just simply because your behavior starts shifting. Suddenly you're not responding to every message, that comes through. You're not jumping up for every debate. You're not volunteering your opinion in situations that used to pull you in. You're not defending yourself the way that you used to. You're not explaining yourself to people who already decided that they don't want to understand you. You're not carrying the emotional tension that doesn't belong to you. And so that's where that famous line shows up, right? You've changed. And I know when they say it at first, it stings a little, right? Let's not pretend that sentence doesn't come with a little, attitude behind it, right? You changed. They say it like it's a flaw. And, sometimes they say it like it's an accusation, like it's a disappointment. Twista, welcome in, beautiful. Sometimes it's said like you've somehow become difficult. But this is the part I think that kind of makes me smile a little because, yeah, you damn right. I did change. I did. Because see, the old version of me had no boundaries and I was, carrying like a full emotional workload that didn't belong to me. The old version of us answered those calls, engaged in every argument, explained every misunderstanding, absorbed every single mood in the room, carried everybody else's emotional baggage like we work at the airport of other people's problems. Next flight, all aboard, right? And the crazy part is a lot of people get really comfortable with that version of you. They got comfortable over the years of you being the overgiver, you being emotionally available. They get comfortable with the fact that you would always step in and smooth things over. So they don't have to ever take any real accountability because she got it. But doing the work and healing changes your capacity. And y'all know how much I love that word, capacity, right? And not only does healing change your capacity, it teaches you discernment. It teaches you to pause before you respond. In fact, it teaches you to pause before you react so that you can respond. Healing teaches you to ask simple questions like, does this actually deserve my energy? And sometimes the answer is no, right? Not because you're cold, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally realize that your peace comes with limitations. So yeah, you changed. The new version of you moves differently. That new version of you pauses before engaging. The new version of you recognizes D.O.P.s much faster. The new version of you isn't selective, the new version of you is selective with your emotional investment. You're not just depositing everywhere. You're being very intentional about where your energy goes, where your time goes. The new version of you has peace and a filter. And that filter is powerful because it helps you to recognize when someone is asking for connection versus someone who is inviting you into chaos. And, once you start doing the healing work, that healed version of you learns, that not every invitation deserves a RSVP. Sometimes growth looks like silence. Sometimes growth looks like stepping back from a situation or from a person. Conversation, right? Sometimes growth looks like just saying, hey, I wish you well, but I won't be participating in that. Yeah, another favorite thing that I say, I want you to eat, but unfortunately, I'm no longer able to serve you at this table. And the people who benefited from your lack of boundaries, they're going to struggle with the change in the beginning, right? They're going to struggle with that. But the people who respect your peace, the people who genuinely care for you, they will understand it. They might not like it, but they will respect it. And so we have to understand that apatheia isn't about becoming distant. It's about becoming emotionally disciplined. Instead of being emotionally drained, I would prefer to be emotionally disciplined, right? Because that discipline protects your peace in ways that the old version of you never could. Never, ever, ever could. And I want to go back to this D.O.P., right? Because I think that it is also important for us to talk about our inner or internal D.O.P. And for those of you who just came in and you were like, what the hell is a D.O.P.? A D.O.P. is a disruptor of peace. Okay? And we've already established that a D.O.P. is, the person, the situation, or the pattern that consistently disrupts your emotional stability. But we have to point out that some of the D.O.P.s are the ones living inside of our head. I'm going to point the finger. Several point back at me because, again, I've already announced I've been my own, disruptor before. So if we're going to be honest, let's just be honest for a moment. Some of the biggest disruptors of peace don't live outside of us. They live inside our own thoughts. Not every D.O.P. is a person. Sometimes the loudest disruption in your life is the conversation happening in your own head. Overthinking, replaying or ruminating on conversations, reanalyzing somebody's tone, trying to decode what someone really meant, imagining arguments that haven't even happened yet. Some of us are fighting imaginary people in the shower and they winning. Yo, they winning. You're in there shampooing your hair, having a full out debate with somebody who isn't even in the room. You be in there delivering speeches, making points, defending yourself, winning arguments that only exist in your imagination because you have decided to take up residency in the land of what if. Meanwhile, your nervous system is fully activated over something that hasn't even happened yet. You don't realize that you're silently manifesting all of this negative energy that you swear you're trying to avoid. And the truth is, many of us learn this habit early. We learn to overanalyze situations so we could prevent conflict. We learn to mentally rehearse conversations so we wouldn't get caught off guard. We learn to scan other people's behaviors to find the hidden meaning, to determine the threat, right? Assess the threat. But over time, that survival skill turned into something exhausting. right? Your brain never gets quiet. Your mind never gets rest. And so now every small interaction becomes this huge, full out mental investigation. Why did they say that? Did they mean it like that? Maybe I should have responded differently. Maybe I should have sent another message explaining what I meant. Right? And before you know it, you're sitting there carrying this emotional tension over a conversation the other person probably forgot about 5 minutes later. And that's when you start to realize that sometimes the biggest D.O.P. or disruptor of peace in your life isn't the person who said something. It's the story you keep telling yourself about it. See, apatheia also applies internally. It means learning to recognize when your mind is trying to drag you into emotional chaos that doesn't serve you. So let me make it relatable. Some of you have experienced things in life that were very valid. Your feelings are 100% valid. It happened. It meant something to you. And maybe this happened a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, a decade ago. Who knows, right? And so because this situation happened and it hurt you and your feelings were wrapped into it, here we are now, a year, a month, a week, a day later, still ruminating over it, still sitting with it because it hurt. And there's no denying that. So we keep telling ourselves the story over and over again because nobody else has ever validated how we felt. No one else has ever addressed how we received it. So we have made it our life mission and have spent countless time, hours, minutes, days, weeks, months, ruminating on this, constantly telling ourselves the same story over and over and over again. Right? And so that same hurt and that same pain from, when it initially happened is still sitting with us. Our body doesn't recognize that it's over because we didn't end it. We never closed it out. Right? It's kind of like your phone. You have a bunch of different apps or programs open, or even your computer, you have a bunch of tabs open. And just because you jump to another app or another tab, the other one doesn't automatically close. It's still there. TikTok's still running in the background. Y'all ever notice that sometimes you be on TikTok and then you get a phone call. So now you're off TikTok and you're on the phone. And then you're like, oh, I got a text message. And then you go to check your text message after you get off the phone or your bank account balance or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden you start hearing somebody talking on your phone and you're trying to figure out where that voice is coming from. Right? TikTok still playing in the background, but you ain't been on there in an hour. But now all of a sudden that voice is coming through again. That is how a lot of us live our life, holding on to situations with all of these apps and browsers and tabs open in the background because we didn't close them out. And that's nobody else's fault. My mama calling me and me talking to her for an hour. It ain't her fault that TikTok's still running in the background. That's on me. So again, sometimes that D.O.P. isn't the person who actually said something or has done something. It's you. And so again, apatheia has to apply internally as well. It means that you need to learn to recognize when your mind is trying to drag you back into emotional chaos that no longer serves you. It happened. They said what they said. They did what they did. It is time for us to understand that it is what it is. Remind ourselves that, hey, I'm okay. Yeah, it hurt me then. It toughened me up a little bit, but here I am. To date, I've 100% survived every single weapon that was sent to destroy me. So no matter what they said, no matter how they treated you, no matter what they did or did not do, you're still here. So apatheia means noticing when your thoughts are creating stress, that isn't actually necessary. It means learning how to pause and say, wait a minute, is this real or is my mind replaying the scenario? Because not every single thought deserves your attention. Not every interpretation deserves your belief. Not every mental replay deserves your energy. Sometimes protecting your peace means interrupting your own thought patterns. It means saying, I'm not doing this today. I'm not replaying that conversation again. I'm not imagining arguments that have yet to happen. I'm not giving this situation free rent in my mind. And listen, that doesn't mean that you ignore real issues. Okay? It just simply means that you stop letting your mind turn every small moment into an emotional crisis. Because peace isn't just about the people that you distance yourself from. Peace is also the thoughts that you stop entertaining. And Apatheia teaches you that your peace isn't just something that you protect externally, right? It is something that you protect internally too. And once you learn how to quiet the noise in your own head, your nervous system finally gets the message that it's been waiting for. Once you can silence the noise, then all of a sudden your body recognizes that you are now safe. That you don't have to fight every battle that your mind imagines. Sometimes peace simply looks like letting the thought pass and choosing not to pick it up again. Right? Sometimes we just have to sit with ourselves long enough in the silence so we can recognize that that's happened, that my feelings are valid, but that situation no longer has a hold on me because I'm here. I'm safe. Right? And for some of us, that means simply understanding that silence is a boundary. I think that that's something else that healing teaches you that nobody really talks about. And many of us weren't taught that early on, right? Silence is a boundary. You don't have to attend every argument that you're invited to. Let me say that again for the people who grew up thinking that they had to respond to everything, right? For the person who feels compelled to argue and prove their point. You do not have to attend every argument that you're invited to. Just because somebody has something to say, just because somebody sends you a text message, just because somebody throws a comment your way, it doesn't mean that you're required to show up and participate. But a lot of us were taught the opposite. We were taught that if somebody has something to say to us, we got to clap back. We got to defend ourselves. If somebody misunderstands us, baby, we got to correct them. Right? If somebody is upset with us, we need to get with them and fix it. Get it together. So we grew up believing that every single situation requires a response, that every disagreement requires a rebuttal, that every single accusation requires an explanation. And before you know it, you're standing in conversations that were never designed to bring you peace. They were simply sent to prolong chaos. But doing the work and healing introduces a complete different kind of wisdom. It teaches you to pause, to step back, to observe, and, to recognize something, simple but powerful. And it's that not every conversation deserves your presence. I wish that more people understood that their presence, that you just being here, is a gift. Because I think that if more people understood that their presence alone was a gift, they would make sure that if people didn't, how do I want to say this? I'll reword it this way. I am constantly reminding myself that my presence is a gift. And if my presence, me just simply being here, is not a gift to you, is not a blessing to you, then I will no longer be present, meaning I will no longer be here. Does that make sense? She said water break. Okay, y'all tell me if it makes sense. So yeah, my presence is a gift. And if I do not feel like me being present is a gift to you, then I am no longer present. And the moment that I really understood that, it made sense to me that now some conversations just simply don't deserve my wisdom. Some conversations deserve my silence, my absence, right? Because when I was present, ain't nobody want me. Right? What Mike Jones say? Back then, you ain't want me. Now I'm hot, you all on me. So when I was here, when I was present, you ain't appreciate me. But now that I'm gone, you want to be like, oh, where you been? You deserve my absence because you didn't value my presence when I was there. Because some people, again, they're not inviting you into a conversation. They're inviting you back into some conflict, some mess. Sometimes they're not looking for understanding. They're just simply looking for your reaction. And if you don't recognize that dynamic, you're going to keep showing up for emotional battles that were never meant to be resolved. Right? But apatheia changes the way you move. You stop reacting automatically. You start responding intentionally. You recognize when a conversation has the potential for growth and when it's just a revolving door for drama. And sometimes I think that the most powerful response that you can give is no response at all. And it's not because you're ignoring them. It's not because you're being petty. It's just simply because you've learned that silence is a boundary. You know, silence can say the thing that you've probably been scared to say. Silence can say, I'm not engaging with that energy. Silence can say, this conversation isn't healthy for me. Silence can say, I'm protecting my peace. And let's be real for a second. Some people are going to struggle with that because people who thrive on, reaction get very uncomfortable when you stop reacting. When they can't pull you into the drama anymore. When they can't, when you don't take the bait. When you don't argue back and you're no longer explaining yourself. But that discomfort that they feel is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to simply protect your peace. And that's why silence isn't avoidance. Silence isn't weakness. Silence isn't you running away from conflict. Silence is a boundary. Silence is discernment. For some of us, silence is us not catching a case and going to jail today because our intrusive thoughts have taken over. Right? It's the wisdom to recognize which conversations move your life forward and which ones are just distractions from your peace. Peace is expensive, right? Peace looks calm on the outside, but don't let the calm fool you. Peace is expensive. People see someone who's emotionally grounded, not easily triggered, not constantly caught up in drama, and they assume that the peace just happened naturally. Right? I hear people tell me all the time, like, you're just so calm, you're just so peaceful. And I be over here like, girl, if you see the shit that I got to go through every day I have to fight to prove my love, right? Because they don't see the cost behind it. Peace requires decisions. And they ain't just easy, basic decisions. It's hard decisions. Peace requires boundaries. And boundaries change access. Peace costs access. It means that not everyone gets the same level of closeness to you anymore. Not everyone gets unlimited access of your time. Not everyone gets unlimited access to your emotional energy. And, for the people who were once, front row in your life, maybe now they only get a balcony seat. Maybe some of them no longer deserve to get in the club. And sometimes they notice, they ask you questions, they get offended, But peace also costs proximity, because some environments thrive on tension. Some social circles trauma bond over drama, right? Some relationships function off emotional intensity. And so when you start protecting your peace, you begin to realize that certain dynamics only worked when you were participating in the chaos. So when you stop engaging the same way, that dynamic begins to shift. And sometimes the relationships shift too. And I think that part can be hard, because the truth is, sometimes the people disrupting your peace are the people that you care about the most, right? People that you've known for years, people that you've shared memories with, people that you genuinely wish well. And that is where apatheia becomes so important, because apatheia doesn't tell you to stop loving, right? It tells you to stop absorbing their instability. You can care about someone without carrying their emotional storms. You can love someone without allowing their chaos to become your lifestyle. You can wish someone the best without sacrificing your own peace to stay connected to them. And that realization can be bittersweet, because growth sometimes means stepping back from dynamics that once felt normal. But the truth that healing teaches you over time is that peace isn't just something that you talk about. Peace is something that you protect. And sometimes protecting your peace means adjusting who gets close enough to disrupt it. Because when your nervous system finally learns what calm feels like, you become much more intentional about who you allow near it. And that's not cruelty. That is maturity. That is emotional wisdom. And that is apatheia in action. So we have to normalize choosing peace without feeling mean. I think that one of the biggest struggles that people face when they start protecting their peace is the guilt. Not because the boundaries are wrong, not because the choice is unhealthy, but because you've spent years being the person who always showed up, always fixed things, always explained yourself, always kept the peace. And so changing the pattern up, switching things up can feel a bit uncomfortable. Suddenly you're saying no. You're disengaging from conversations that used to pull you in. You're stepping back from dynamics that used to drain you. Now you're pausing before responding instead of reacting immediately. You're choosing you're choosing quiet over chaos. And when people notice that shift, sometimes they respond in ways that make you question yourself, right? They might say those things where you're acting funny, you've changed, you don't talk like you used to, you're distant now, or you're too quiet. And if you're somebody who genuinely cares about people, those comments make you pause for a moment. They hurt. You start wondering, am I being cold? Am I really pushing people away? Am I becoming someone I didn't want to become? But this is where healing asks you to tell yourself the truth. And the truth is, no, you're not acting funny. You're acting healthy. There's a difference. See, healthy people don't participate in every conflict. Healthy people don't overextend themselves emotionally. Healthy people don't sacrifice their nervous system to keep chaos comfortable. Healthy people pause. Healthy people observe. Healthy people choose where their energy goes. And sometimes that looks different, from the version of you that people were used to. Because again, let's be honest, some people got comfortable with the version of you that had no boundaries. They got comfortable with the version of you that always answered, always engaged, always explained, always tolerated. So when you start protecting your peace, it feels strange to them. But strange doesn't mean wrong. And apatheia helps you to sit with that, sit with the difference without guilt. You're not rejecting people. You're respecting yourself. You're not being distant. You're being discerning. You're not being mean. You're being mindful of your emotional capacity. Because here's something else that healing teaches you that, again, many of us didn't learn early on. You cannot build a peaceful life while constantly abandoning yourself to keep other people comfortable. Do I need to say it again? You cannot build a peaceful life while constantly abandoning yourself to keep other people comfortable. Eventually, you have to choose. And choosing peace doesn't make you harsh. Choosing peace is not going to make you selfish. It doesn't make you cold. It just simply means that you're finally understanding, that you finally understand something that took many of us years to learn. And it's that your energy is valuable. Your peace is valuable. And protecting both of those things is not cruelty. It is wisdom. It's maturity. It's growth. It is apatheia in practice. So before we close out our Wednesday word conversation, I just want you guys to sit with a couple of questions. And I want you to really sit with these. Don't rush to answer the questions too quickly, right? Not the type of questions that you kind of rush past, but questions for you to really reflect on. Because again, sometimes healing starts with us just being honest about what we're tolerating. So the first question that I have for you is, who or what has been disrupting your peace repeatedly? Who or what has been disrupting your peace repeatedly? Again, not occasionally, not sometimes, right? Not once or twice, but consistently. Who or what has been disrupting your peace repeatedly? And when you think about this, I'm talking about the conversations that leave you drained. Can you pin that, please? The dynamics that, always feel tense. The environments where your nervous system immediately tightens up. The thoughts that replay over and over in your mind. The situations where you leave feeling emotionally exhausted every single time. And when you have an answer to that, I just want you to make note that those are your D.O.P.s. Those are your disruptors of peace. Now, the second question that I want you to ask yourself is, why have you been giving it access? Why have you been giving it access? So once you're able to answer who or what has been disrupting your peace, I want you to then come back and answer, why have you been giving it access? Sometimes the answer is love. Sometimes the answer is history. Sometimes it's habit. Sometimes it's empathy. And sometimes the answer is something deeper, right? We were taught that being a good person meant absorbing everything. But today's word reminds us that there's another way to move through life, a healthier way, a more peaceful way. Apatheia. The ability to care deeply without allowing other people's chaos to control your emotional climate. It means that you can still love people. You can still support people. You can still wish people well, but you stop absorbing moods that don't belong to you. You stop volunteering your nervous system for other people's storms. You stop managing emotional situations that were never your assignment in the first place. And that shift changes everything. Because once you start practicing apatheia, you start recognizing those D.O.P.s faster. You start protecting your energy more intentionally. You start choosing silence where you once chose reaction. You start creating boundaries where you once overextended yourself. And slowly your peace becomes something that you protect, not something you constantly rebuild after other people's chaos. That's growth. That is emotional maturity. That is healing. So the affirmation for today is simple. And I hope that you guys take note of this. I want you to write this down, post this on your wall, on your screen, say wherever you need to see it, wherever you're going to see it. The affirmation for today is, I care deeply, but I refuse to carry what is not mine. I want y'all to put that in the chat. I care deeply, but I refuse to carry what is not mine. I care deeply, but I refuse to carry what is not mine. And I hope you let that sit with you today. Let it guide how you move through conversation. For those of you who feel like you keep getting sucked in or, pulled back into the chaos, you need to make note of this, right? It is okay to care deeply, but it is not okay to keep carrying the things that are no longer serving you. So I care deeply, but I refuse to carry what is not mine. Let it guide how you respond to tension. Let it guide how you practice and, you practice this, or protect your healing, right? Let it guide how you protect your peace moving forward. And again, if this conversation resonated with you today, drop a green heart in the chat, right? Drop those green hearts in the comments as a reminder that you are choosing healing and growth and peace. Because again, here in the Room to Breathe family, we're not just talking about self-care, we are practicing it. One breath, one boundary, one moment of clarity at a time. And remember, protecting your peace isn't cold, it is clarity. So, apatheia. Now, before we close out, I want to leave you all with a little extra love and light. As always, I am here to encourage you to keep breathing through the highs, the lows, and every moment in between. I want you to keep choosing peace, even if it feels out of reach. And know that here at the Self-Care Club, you will always be seen, always valued, and always supported. So don't be afraid to take up space, speak your truth, and make a little room for you to breathe. I love each and every one of you to life. And I am praying that your day is not just amazing, but aligned, intentional, and yes, on purpose, filled with purpose. This has been another Room to Breathe podcast. And I cannot wait to connect with you all again soon. Thank you.
Me, I